Gregg, what's your next story? This is one I like a lot.
Staying in the NFL, in the AFC East, Tamposi's favorite former Patriot, Danny Amendola, was suplexed last week by Bears linebacker Leonard Floyd in a pretty key play, which was called a penalty, extended a drive that the Dolphins ended up scoring on. The Bears linebacker just picked up the diminutive wide receiver and just suplexed him backwards as if it was like the WWE or something.
It was an angry move, but I don't blame the linebacker because that's how mad I get whenever I see Brock Osweiler throw a pass. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like you just want to hurt somebody. And I like seeing suplexes brought back into the game. Like, what would your, Gregg, I'll throw this out to you, you as well, Erica. What would your finishing moves be?
Got a couple.
All right. Well, when you said this, I suddenly I have a terrible memory, but
whenever you're like, what would your finishing move be? And I'm like, oh, that's an interesting thing to do. And then I come in and I think of what my finishing move would be, and you're like, oh, I don't know, I didn't really think about it, but it was your idea from the start.
I'm not saying I wouldn't think about it. I'm saying I usually can't remember anything about my childhood, but this question that you posed to me made me remember what I did have a finishing move as a kid, and it was called the stapler. And it was, if you get me in a position where I can like get behind you, I'm not a big guy, maybe grab your arms a little bit and then just dig my chin into your back. That's called the stapler, and that was my move. Because like you only have so many moves as a guy my size.
I think that's technically child molestation. The stapler sounds like it's got all the earmarks.
Because you would wrestle as a young man, like you would end up like wrestling your friends and shit.
Yeah, but not with the express purpose of getting my chin into their back.
I mean, that wasn't the plan. That's never the plan going in. But
did someone assign that to you, or did you come up with that?
No, I came up with that and be like, oh, all right, here comes the stapler.
So that's what you would do if you were playing football and you like tackled a guy and you were mad at him, you would give him the stapler.
I was thinking more wrestling when you said finishing move than football.
Erica, what would your finishing move be?
Probably checking for moles.
Checking for moles. Just take this whole uniform off and checking for moles. Better hope they wiped. That's a good one. It's better than Gregg's for sure.
How about like you just kind of like grab the opponent's hands, but like their palms, and like tickle them for a little to confuse them, and then just like knee them in the groin.
Does that confuse you when someone tickles your palms?
If you were on a football field and that would be confusing.
Why not just knee them in the groin? If you're gonna end with the knee to the groin, just do it like that. I'll tell you what I would do. I've got one of two that I liked. I would pick them up by like their feet. You know what I mean? Like when they're on the ground, pick them by the ankles and swing them around into the goalposts.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
That's
like
awesome.
Even especially if you're at the 50-yard line, you'd have to get 50 yards swinging this guy.
You have to really wind up.
When you could just keep spinning until you got there and then slam them into the goalpost, or just a classic throat rip. And rip their throat out of their head. That's all good finishing moves from everybody. I think my favorite part of this whole segment was that when Gregg said, Erica, what are your finishing moves? She thought he meant sexual. Gregg, what's our next story? This one's near and dear to my heart.
Last week in the Texans-Bills game, Buffalo Bills running back Chris Ivory was pulled down from behind by his dreadlock. Jadeveon Clowney, the Texans defensive end, just reached out, grabbed a big hunk of his dreadlock. It was like 3 feet. Yeah, no, it's just one dreadlock. Yeah. But it was like he has really long dreadlocks, and grabbed him to the ground. It looked like the most painful thing ever.
Slam him straight to the ground. In the NFL, this is legal. If you have long hair, it's part of your uniform. You can take somebody down like that. Troy Polamalu would get dragged down by his hair sometimes. And whenever players get dragged down by their hair, they never care. They're always like, whatever, I don't care. I'm not mad. They can do that. It's not going to bother me. It's my single biggest fear. Even though I don't play football and I don't have dreadlocks. But the idea of someone pulling me down from behind while I'm running full speed by one of my dreadlocks is horrifying to me. Much like my irrational fear of being eaten by a shark in a swimming pool where they don't live. Do you guys have irrational fears?
You love sharks, too.
I love them, but in a pool I get scared.
I'd love to see you with dreadlocks. That's one irrational fear.
It would be dope. Like when Vanilla Ice kind of went with the dreadlocks, I was like, I could pull that off.
Whenever I pull out of my parking spot on the street every day to take a left, I basically imagine myself getting slammed by another car every single time. I don't know if that's irrational or not, and I just feel like eventually it's going to happen, even though I check for it. So I don't know if that counts.
It counts a little bit. That's like a real fear that you should have, especially if you're a parent. Or even a halfway decent one like Gregg is. You should have an irrational fear. Erica, any irrational fears? I mean,
I'm-
besides dying alone.
Yeah. It's not irrational. I have like I'm afraid of impulses. So like if I was in a barber shop, like I'm afraid that like I might like shave my head by accident.
Yeah, I totally understand that. It is an irrational fear. You probably won't do that, but I completely understand that my irrational fear is more irrational than both of yours. I'm crazier. That's why I'm the star.